We don't have control there.
Yeah, she says the websites would keep that data for 7 years, but not names and addresses. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
.907 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So I had a whole show planned. I was going to do something different here. But then I as I'm driving in, I hear Dan talking about Tennessee moving closer to requiring photo ID to access porn websites. I thought, good. You need to have your ID if you're going to go to a strip club. You need to have your ID if you're going to go to a sex toy shop. You need to have your ID to buy a nudie magazine at a convenience store. Why is it that when it comes to the internet, we don't need ID for porn? The one part that I have issue with, and Dan, me and him were talking off the air too. Should the porn site be able to hold on to your information for 7 years? That's a little sketchy. Not going to lie there. But as a dad with young kids and knowing the dangers of pornography, I think that this is a move in the right direction. So what are we looking at here? Well, Tennessee could soon become the latest state to require photo ID verification to access pornography sites like Pornhub. The Senate Finance Committee advanced SB 1792, brought by Senator Becky Duncan Massey. She's out of Knoxville, Republican. It's out of committee. It's eliminating the final hurdle before being heard on the full Senate floor. What do you think about it? 615-737-9986. She says we have age verification when folks go on an alcohol-related site, but we don't have anything like that if they go on a site that's basically like a pornography site. It's titled the Protect Tennessee Minors Act. The bill would make porn sites criminally liable if they don't verify the ages of users of their sites through photo matching. This porn stuff, it's dangerous. Massey went on record saying it can cause damage, mental health issues. There's a lot of data that supports it's not good for people under 18. And you can also make the argument that it's not good for people over 18, but adults are going to do adult things. They don't really have any control there. But the stats on this is crazy. Like the average kid is accessing porn between 8 and 11 years old now. 8 and 11 years old. And this is not just regular sex. Do you know what I mean? We're not talking missionary here. Parents need to be understanding of this trend. And kids are seeing awful stuff. Violent, degrading, extreme stuff. And then it's going to shape them for the rest of their lives. The exposure to porn is going to give them unrealistic expectations about what sex is like. Consent, relationships. It's going to create body image, performance issues, have distorted views on all the ideas around sex. And then down the road, this stuff is going to become addicting. It's proven that the porn is addicting. It's going to fry out their dopamine receptors. But I want to know what you think about it. Do you support this bill moving forward? Do you want pornography sites in Tennessee to require photo ID verification? 615-737-9986. Chris in the borough, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Chris?
Hey, I'm just listening to what you guys say, and there's merits on both sides of this. There's no doubt about it. I've got 2 young girls, and I know what's out there. I've lived it in my younger days and what have you, so I understand the concern about everything. But however, with the technology advances that we have going on today, and as fast as it's changing and what have you, this is just one hurdle that we're going to have another hurdle right in front of it, even after we put this up there. And my other concern is this also. With as much data that is stolen from us on the web, through our medical providers, Social Security, anything, anywhere you go, PayPal, Amazon, your stuff is out there, and people are stealing it left and right, even if they say it's secure. We have data breaches all over the place. Just look at what happened to AT&T with 70-something million subscribers, their Social Security numbers stolen and what have you. I just think throwing our information out there is one thing only, and that's bad. It just too many opportunities, especially with everybody that's coming into the country illegally. They need our information to go to work. They need our information for future endeavors on their part as far as being here in America. And the more we freely throw our information out there, the worse it becomes as far as the opportunity for people to steal that information. Now, however, with the protection of kids, I completely get it. But there's every computer and every cell phone, when they access the web, has an ID on where that's coming from, who it is. all that information, when you sign up for your carriers or your internet service, you put that information in already. Why can't they just verify it from that?
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure. I think then you'd run into the issues about, I mean, houses don't have PCs really anymore, but using your mom or dad's tablet, using your mom or dad's phone, all that kind of stuff, you'd run into hurdles there.
Well, yeah, and no doubt about it, provided the parent lets their child access their equipment. And what I mean by that, in the earlier session there, the Dan Mandis show, people talked about parent responsibility and where that role comes into play. Well, if you're giving your child your tablet, there's a device on there to lock it out to certain websites. Your virus software, your malware software, what have you, parental control. That's where you have it. However, when the child takes their phone and goes to school, and somebody on the show mentioned sharing that information with the child or what have you from their phone. Again, that phone has a web browser that has an address attached to it, and that information can lock that phone from those websites automatically without somebody having to put their ID out there.
Yeah, but I appreciate the call, Chris. I think that the point, though, is that there are parents out there that aren't protecting their kids from this stuff. Or either they're ignorant or they just don't care, but kids are being exposed to this over and over and over. And furthermore, as far as adults go, I mean, listen, if it's a deterrent that you have to put your ID in to go to a porn site, I think that's a good thing. I don't think that porn is good for any society. Bobby in the borough, you're next on the porn bill. What's up, Bobby?
Yes, I mean, I agree with Dan Mandis, but I'm just going to put that out there. I'm a libertarian.
Okay.
And I think I understand where the state is getting, but we have more problems in Tennessee. When I hear stuff like this, I shake my head. Our infrastructure is bad. Our roads are bad. We have this immigration problem, and these are the things time and time again that they want to spend. I mean,
but
yes,
I'd argue, Bobby, that we're dealing with the next generation here, and if we're letting these kids fry their brains out on porn, they're not going to grow up and have healthy families. Like we're shooting ourselves in the foot for fixing these problems down the road, also.
Yes, but I mean, we have a drug problem with these kids, the vaping. You're not going to stop these kids from getting it. But I don't get me wrong. I mean, you should show ID. But my problem is now you're opening up the door for blackmail. And you're going to get a lot of this where even politicians are going to bite themselves in the foot because time and time again, they're always in sex scandals. I appreciate your time.
Hey, I don't think that this is going to eliminate any source of blackmail. There's plenty of opportunities for blackmail when it comes to politicians. Full disclosure. Let's go to Margaret in Nashville. What do you think about the porn bill, Margaret?
Well, it's such a huge subject. I don't even know where to start, but I am absolutely for it. I've been a marriage and family therapist. I'm licensed in Tennessee for 36 years. And I don't think parents have any idea of the depth of this problem. So, obviously, I'm in total agreement with what you're saying. The imprint, the early imprint, the cement's not set yet. So, to put this in is just heading these kids into places that they're not going to be able to have a healthy relationship. They won't. And the addiction part of it, I went to a summit. It was a sex addiction summit down in Atlanta with a leading researcher in the United States, about 400 of us from around the country. And this was like 7 years ago. The researcher was saying, and he was not a Christian, make that clear. He's just a humanist researcher who's dedicating his life to this subject. And he was saying, we have a tsunami coming. And my friend and I, she's a sex therapist from Nashville, we're looking at each other going, we thought we were living in this tsunami because we're seeing the outcome of this in the relationships now.
Mm-hmm.
And the ability to love, to love deep when everything's not the way you want it. I mean, this is something that's it's unbelievable. I mean, there's some very popular sites out there where you can pay money, and a lot of teenagers are using it for live sex acts over the phone. And, I mean, the problem's huge. So if we can build some walls, go for it. Absolutely.
I'm with you. I appreciate the call, Margaret. Thanks so much for adding your expertise to the conversation.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Dave in the borough. Dave, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Dave?
Yeah, a few years ago, I heard about over in the UK, they decided that I think they were going to draft some legislation that would automatically opt everybody out of those sites. And if you wanted to go to them, you'd have to opt in. And I also agree that you should have to have some sort of identification to get into those websites. And I think that on every platform that has anything like that, you should have to opt into it. And it's terrible for kids, just like the lady was saying just a second ago. Yeah, this is a step in the right direction. I think porn sites and anything containing porn should also be categorized on the internet by a .x or something like that, so that when your computer goes to that URL, that it's already going to know, or at least in the metadata, it should say that there's some sort of pornography on there. And if you're opted out, you should not even see it as in your list of URLs to pick from.
Hey, I appreciate the call, Dave. Thanks so much. 615-737-9986 if you want to weigh in on this. So they're trying to make it so you have to put your ID in before you can view porn on the internet in Tennessee. I like it. I like it a lot. I think that any hurdle that we can put up to protect kids is a good thing. And Tennessee could soon become the latest state to require photo ID to access porn sites on the internet. What do you think about it? 615-737-9986. It's 921 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Got traffic problems right now in East Nashville. The crash there on Ellington Parkway southbound is blocking the left lane there at Trinity Lane. Then in White House, Robertson County, you got a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder 65 southbound after Bethel Road. And a renewed search for Sebastian Rogers. Details coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk. My name is Chris Hand. At 9:35, Sarah Segan from Parents Who Fight is going to join us. She's going to call in and talk about the dangers of pornography for kids. She's an expert in this field, and I was just talking to Mac off the air. I was like, I need an expert. Give me an expert. There's a lot of data that you can sift through on the internet, but give me somebody that can boil it down. Sarah's going to do that for us at 9:35. The issue in question is there's a bill that could require you to show an ID to view porn in Tennessee. It's to protect minors. I think this is a good thing. And Texas did the same thing. And because of Texas doing this, their state age verification law, Pornhub, a popular porn site, suspended access to the site in Texas. So the ripple effects out can be good, but I want to know what you think about it. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Janelle in Nashville. Janelle, you're next on Super Talk. What do you think, Janelle?
Well, I was listening this morning, and I was thinking, is this really about the minors in Tennessee? Because this could ripple all through the states. And there are a lot of women trafficked and children trafficked on these sites.
Yeah,
and they are putting a stop to it.
There are many cases of videos being put on these sites that are of women who are being trafficked, and many people point that there's a direct correlation between pornography and trafficking.
And children.
Yep.
And here's the thing. If you put your ID up there and you go to certain sites, you're going to be in big trouble.
No,
big trouble.
You're absolutely right. I think it works as a deterrent in many cases. I appreciate your call, Janelle. Thank you so much. Let's go to Matt, who's on the road, wants to talk about the porn bill. What's up, Matthew?
Hey, how you doing today?
Good. How are you doing, sir?
Very good. So I'm going to start with, it's a great idea. It's a terrific idea. But with the government, when the government's involved, what I'm going to say is a lot of bad things are brought out with good intentions. And like with tobacco and beer, you have to scan an ID, and the government has access to that. Insurance companies, healthcare companies. That's a dangerous road to go down. We're already seeing things with OnStar and insurance companies jacking with people's rates and all that. I just don't know if that's a direction we want to go, giving them access. I think there's other ways. And to kind of touch on what the therapist earlier said, this is going to be a controversial statement. Pornography is driven by women. And I think what we can do is alleviate that, and instead of focusing on the government get involved, let's us get involved with the government and force them to rebuild the nuclear families, keep parents together. I know Monday y'all were kind of pushing for the destruction of the nuclear family, but I think if we put that back together, a lot of these social issues will work themselves out.
I hear you, Matt. And listen, I understand the fears and the nervousness about letting the government have more control. I really do. But, as a dad with young kids and looking around at the world that they're growing up in, I'm like, any hurdle that we can put in front of these, obstacles that we're facing as parents, I feel like it is a good thing. And you have to show an ID at a strip club. You have to show an ID at a sex toy shop. You have to show an ID whether you're buying a magazine or a DVD that's adult-oriented. Why should we just have the wild, wild west when it comes to pornography sites? It's 9:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
"9:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now in Middle Tennessee, there is a renewed search for Sebastian Rogers, the 15-year-old autistic boy missing from his Hendersonville area home since late February. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office posted to Facebook law enforcement agencies are conducting another search in the Long Hollow Pike area, but they stress there are no new leads or evidence to indicate they'll find anything fruitful. Tennessee seems to have avoided major destruction from yesterday's storm outbreak, but not Kentucky. Jordan Udis is a paramedic in Louisville and described some of the mess left behind.
The roof from one house went across the street and ended up into another home. Within a matter of what seemed like minutes, it went from about 70, 75 degrees and sunny to suddenly pitch black and debris flying.
Kentucky Governor Beshear declaring a state of emergency, and a new outbreak of avian flu forcing the nation's largest producer of eggs to temporarily shut down plants in Michigan and Texas. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. Look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. I love My Patriot Supply. It's emergency food so you can care for your family no matter what. And today, we're fixing creamy chicken flavored rice. And the thing I love about My Patriot Supply, it's easy. You just get the water, turn on the heat, and in minutes, we are ready to go. Now, this food lasts for 25 years in special packaging, and yes, it does taste great. And in just minutes, it's ready to eat. Patriots don't rely on the government to take care of their family in emergencies. It's up to you. Order right now and get $200 off a 3-month food kit. It's important to go to preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. That's preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. Preparewithmandis.com. $200 off a 3-month food kit.
9:38 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So as I'm driving in today, I hear Dan talking about a bill, and it piqued my interest. Tennessee moving closer to requiring photo ID to access porn websites. And I want to know what you guys think about it. But I also put in a text message to my friend Sarah Siegand over at Parents Who Fight, because she's an expert in this arena. Sarah, thanks for calling in on such short notice. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be with you guys this morning.
When I was thinking about the dangers of porn in kids, and I'm looking for information and data, it just popped in my head that, I have somebody in my contact list who is an expert in this, and it's you. And what are the dangers of young kids seeing this kind of material at such a young age?
I mean, obviously, if we look at them developmentally, their brains are completely in process. Their prefrontal cortex is not developed. And we know that anything that releases that much dopamine on a developing brain is, in effect, hijacking that brain's reward center. So it's flooding those neurons and causing them to rewire to more efficiently deliver that vast amount of dopamine. So that's how kids get addicted to something as intense as pornography. And, most of them are stumbling across pornography the very first time by accident. Most of them aren't hearing about it and going and typing stuff in. Maybe they're a little bit curious, but that curiosity, they have no idea the intense, hardcore content they're going to end up on in just the average internet search. And so we have to be really vigilant to protect these younger generations. We didn't do a great job protecting Gen Z, just going to be honest. We didn't have all of the data that we have now. We hadn't studied the brain. We hadn't seen the brain scans of the decrease in frontal matter in the prefrontal cortex, and we hadn't seen all of the long range consequences of what happens when kids grow up on hardcore sexual content and the kind of trauma that introduces into their brains. We now know better, and so we need to do better.
So what do some of those long-term consequences look like? Because, we look at it short-term, you're blocking kids from seeing porn. But if we don't do that, how does that kind of span out over their life?
I mean, there's an incredible documentary I would encourage every parent, and especially those who have young teenagers, to watch, and to watch it with your teens. And it focuses on 3 long-term effects that we all need to really be aware of. One is how pornography harms our brain, just some of what I just touched on, but also how pornography harms our relationships and our understanding of empathy. When kids are growing up in an age where it is very common for young teenagers to think that choking, something as violent as choking, should be part of a sexual experience, that is obviously going to damage the way that they interact with their peers, with people they're attracted to. So it's shifting the sexual template, but it's also just really minimizing the amount of empathy that kids have and understanding how people in the world should care for one another. So that's the relationship side. And then on a societal level, pornography is harming the world because it is leading to all of these sexual criminal acts that we're seeing. We're seeing child-on-child sexual abuse. We're seeing grooming over social media is happening by people just asking teenagers, hey, send me a picture of yourself naked or doing this sexual thing. And when teenagers think, oh, that's not that big of a deal, but then all of a sudden now they're in a situation where their images are being sold and extorted, kids find themselves being groomed into situations where they're being trafficked, which I think in, polite American society we don't like to talk about. But all of that is happening on social media. And so the more that we normalize this sexual fantasy, something that's a complete lie, sexual violence. We are not setting our kids up to understand how the world should actually work and what their part should be in society, and how to resist and have refusal skills for people who ask them for naked photos. I mean, that should be something we're having to pour into our kids younger and younger and younger. So those are the three things. So your brain, your heart, your relationships, and the world. And the documentary is Fight the New Drug. It's brainheartworld.com, I believe. And it's completely free. I'd encourage everybody to watch it and really educate themselves about how it's impacting the young people in our lives.
I will definitely check that out. Now, before we even kind of got into the bill, I didn't even ask your opinion on it, and I just knew you're an expert in this arena. Do you think that requiring ID access to see porn sites is a step in the right direction? Is this something that's going to be effective?
I think it will, and here's how I know, because if a giant, I mean, we're talking mega billion-dollar company like Pornhub is saying to the entire state of Texas, your users are not allowed to access our website in protest to Texas passing a similar law, we know that it is going to cause major ripples. And the people who are monetizing the sexual trauma of individuals, they don't like this bill. And I can see that there's a lot to work out on the details, but there's a lot of innovation in technology that we're moving towards as a society that I think is going to help us. So, for example, now I don't understand all this. I'm not an expert in blockchain. I barely understand it. But I know that blockchain tokens are being spoken about. I don't know if in the Tennessee bill, but in other age verification bills, so that we can still protect the privacy of the user, but they get this, token that's verified once, and it proves that the bearer of that token is above a certain age. So there are innovations that are going to help us make the internet safer for young people by requiring age ID that don't compromise privacy and aren't susceptible to data hacks. So I'm in favor of anything that moves us further in that direction, because like I said, we haven't done enough. We didn't do barely anything to protect Gen Z from pornography. We made jokes about it. We let everyone, make it socially acceptable, and it has ravaged them. So we have to do better on Gen Alpha. We have to protect our youngest users of the internet from this kind of traumatic, violent, and frankly, criminal activity. There's a lot of criminal activity on pornography sites, and kids should not be exposed to seeing, violent rape and such of children. All of that is available on Pornhub and other porn sites, so we have to do a better job protecting our youngest users.
Yeah, and Pornhub in especially, I mean, they've paid fines for profiting from sex trafficking. Like, this is not a good company.
Oh, yes.
When you talk about the advances in technology, I've received a lot of text messages. A lot of people feel like this is government overreach. And then they also make the point that kids are so smart, they'll just download a VPN and get around this. What are your thoughts on that? And does that mean that we shouldn't do anything because kids are too smart?
Well, I think back to the cigarette analogy of, when we put age limits on things, we put it behind the counter. We made it harder for kids to get to. And, could kids still figure out how to get cigarettes today? Absolutely. But what we want to do is normalize protection in society. We want to call parents and schools and any other agency that is giving our kids internet access. We want to call them up to a higher standard of protection. And we've got to put this harmful content behind some kind of digital firewall. So, if I were to even want to go to purchase a magazine when I was growing up, I would have to do that in a way that I wouldn't even be able to purchase it. I would have had to find somebody, right? And eventually those things went behind the counter, and they weren't allowed to sell it to minors, and there was penalties. And all of that is legislation. All of that is government, right? So we pass these standards to protect our kids from adult content when the delivery method was printed paper coming through the mail or at a store. So the delivery method is much more intense now. And I just can't be part of a society that says, oh, well, that's probably too hard. Kids are going to find it anyway, so just throw up our hands. We developed the internet. Gen X has this responsibility to the world of which I'm part of to stand up and say we can do something about this. We cannot just let it all flow down the river over the waterfall. We've got to stop it.
Sarah Segan from Parents Who Fight. Sarah, where can we find more resources from you guys at Parents Who Fight?
Yeah, just go to parentswhofight.com. We've got a resource tab. We've got a direct link right to the Brain Heart World documentary under that resource tab, plus lots of other books and organizations that we think are doing tremendous work. So follow us there.
Hey, I really, truly appreciate you coming on such short notice. I mean, I texted you, 15 minutes ago?
You're welcome.
I owe you one, all right? I'm gonna buy you coffee the next time I see you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. That's Sarah Segan from Parents Who Fight. She is fantastic, and what they're doing over at Parents Who Fight is fantastic. I did get a text message here. It said, wow, man, I lost it. Everybody's texting in so fast and furious. Okay, here, 4702 says, you're so focused on the porn, Chris, that you can't see what we're angry about. Yes, porn is bad. We understand that. Government overreach is too. We're pissed because of the government and the keeping the data. I thought you were smarter than this. And well, I'll just point out, sir, I've said that I don't like the keeping the data part. I said that earlier. I don't. I think that should be ironed out and figured out. I don't want to give the government more power. I do want to protect kids. It's a razor's edge, my friends. 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Checking traffic, looks like they have cleared up that crash there at Ellington Parkway and Trinity Lane. Things moving along a lot smoother. Got a renewed effort to find Sebastian Rogers. Kentucky storm damage, roofs, falling on roofs. And Amazon is walking away from Just Walk Out. These stories and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. We are still talking about the bill that could ban, or not ban, but require an ID to access porn sites. A lot of people pushing back because it says, we're going to retain the data for 7 years. Sharon, who's a proud member of the Red Pilled Moms Club, says, isn't the government keeping all our data anyway? Just saying.
Bingo.
Red Pilled Moms Club for the win.
Always.
We love the Red Pilled Moms Club. Also, 9495 said, Chris, I'm definitely not against protecting children, but last time you spoke to Sarah, she gave everybody several different ways to help monitor your child's activity on the internet. It's talking about Sarah Segan from Parents Who Fight. So he goes on and says, as parents, if we up our parenting game, we can stop this without the government. It just requires active parenting. Yes, I totally agree. If you step up your parenting game, you can definitely do a good job of this until you run into a kid on the playground whose parents don't parent at all. And then they expose your kids to some graphic pornography. But enough about what I think. 615-737-9986. What do you think? Cran, like the berry in Silver Point, has been waiting on the line for a minute. Cran, you're next on Super Talk. What's up?
Yeah, I gotta say, I agree with Matt and Sarah. And when I was about 15, my younger siblings found some pornography magazines that were actually tossed out of someone's window when they drove by our house. And there's no way to protect from that.
No.
That was some serious hardcore pornography. But what I actually initially called in to ask about was, are they going to have anything in this bill that links to sex offenders?
That's a good question. I don't see anything in it right now, and I haven't read all of the language in the bill. The parts that stand out to me is that they're going to require IDs for everyone accessing these sites, and that they would keep the data for 7 years.
Store those IDs for 7 years.
Yep, they say they'll keep the data, but not personally identifying data, so they won't have your name, address, or any personal identifying.
We believe them, right?
Yeah, but like our friend Sharon from the
we totally believe them.
But like our friend Sharon from the Red Pilled Mom Club said, listen, the government already knows,
Right, but I just wanted to kind of swing back. When my sister is 18 months younger than me, my brother's 22 months younger than her. They were out riding their bikes on the street in front of our house, and they found some really, really hardcore pornography magazines that somebody had thrown out their window, apparently. Or they just flew out the window. And they showed me what they had, and I immediately went to my parents. And my parents blamed me for every bad thing that has happened to my younger siblings. And I immediately went to my parents, and they were like, how could you let them look at that? And I was like, I didn't. As soon as they showed me what they had, I came to you.
That's crazy, Cran. I appreciate the call. I don't think that we can prevent window porn drops with an ID. But it seems like we can do something about online pornography. Sam, Calvin, hang on the line, guys. I'll get to your calls next. Now, and again, this stuff does work. Pornhub suspended its site's access in Texas because of their age verification law. This stuff does work. We've seen it in real time. So I want to get your thoughts. 615-737-9986. It's 10:01 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. It is that time of year. Have you gotten your AC system serviced? Well, if you haven't, you are waiting for a problem to pop up, and you shouldn't be waiting for a problem to pop up. You should be keeping your unit in tip-top shape, tippy-toppy, as we like to say. Now, the guys at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, they will come to your home, service it the best way, and if you've been kicking the can down the road because you need to replace your AC or repair it because it went out at the end of last season, it's time to do it. Do it now before those temperatures start creeping up and staying there. The guys at Busy Bee will come through, and if you do need to replace it, they offer the best value on replacement systems. Up to 12 months with no payment, no interest, with approved credit, and it'll pay in so many ways to sign up to be a Beehive member. When you're a Beehive member, you'll get that thorough annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems with no overtime charges, 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. Plus, Busy Bee will always come see you on Saturday. They have those convenient availability hours, so you'll never be left waiting over the weekend to have your system serviced. Busy Bee, they're your Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833, or online at busybeehvac.com.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, there's a new search for Sebastian Rogers, the 15-year-old autistic boy missing from his Hendersonville area home since late February. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office says law enforcement agencies are focusing their efforts in the Long Hollow Pike area, but they stress there's no new evidence indicating they will find something fruitful. But they say they're committed to locating Sebastian and returning him home safely. It appears Tennessee avoided major damage from yesterday's storm outbreak, but not Kentucky. Perry Snowden says his parents' house was damaged after their neighbor's roof fell on 2 rooms there in Prospect.
I was just glad no one's home, So, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. Luckily, it's only those 2 rooms, and, you look across the street and they've lost their whole roof and they've lost everything over there. So I'm just blessed that, it was limited damage.
The storm system now moving east and is putting the Carolinas at risk for severe weather. Since 2016, Amazon has run some of its grocery stores with the technology that uses cameras and QR codes to track what shoppers pick up in the store and then send them a receipt later. It's called Just Walk Out because it allows customers to skip the checkout line. But now Amazon is walking away from Just Walk Out, as we hear in this report from Mike Dubusky.
Amazon has announced it's removing Just Walk Out technology from all its American grocery stores, citing cost concerns. Just Walk Out was billed as being able to automatically ring up customers shopping, though reportedly it often relied on hundreds of off-site reviewers to monitor video of the store and manually tabulate each purchase. In its place will go smart grocery carts, which the company says are more reliable and will similarly let shoppers avoid the checkout line.
About half of the Amazon Fresh grocery stores in the United States used Amazon self-checkout technology. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand. Find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram at Chris Hand on air. I got blasted for always putting my social handles on air. Somebody said, "Oh, there's porn on those sites too." Yeah, I get it. Not a fan, but social media. Find me. I'll follow back. So here's the deal. Tennessee could become the latest state to require photo ID verification to access porn sites on the internet. Now, according to the bill, there will be transactional data that could be held on to, but not personally identifying data. They say that they'll keep the data to prove that they did verify for 7 years. But it won't have someone's name, address, and it can't have any personal identifying markers. Now, Tennessee is just the latest to attempt to do this. Last week, Kansas was the 9th state to approve such an age verification law since 2022. And according to the Associated Press, we have Texas, Arkansas, Indiana, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, Utah, and Virginia having similar laws on the book, plus 19 more states have introduced similar legislation. A lot of people are saying this is a government overreach, while the other half of the crowd is saying that, no, this needs to be done. I got a text here, and they asked me not to blast the last 4 of their phone number. He said, my spouse was a sex crime detective, and majority of any sexual crime at the age from 11 years old on up shared the same problem, looking at porn. And it starts on the school bus. Crazy. 3455 said, how about just don't look at porn online and have nothing to worry about? This is one of the things I think the ID verification will do. It's going to be a deterrent for a lot of people, and there's a lot of negatives that come with porn. A lot. Calvin in Lebanon, the distinguished gentleman from Lebanon, has been waiting on the line for a minute. Calvin, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Calvin?
Hey, Chris, I just wanted to say that I had to work late one night. This has been a long time ago. And I got in the van. Of course, I'm always tuned to 99.7. And y'all used to have a show on after Mark Levin. I don't remember if it was 9 or 10 o'clock, where they had people on that confessed their pornography confessions. And normally I would have turned that. But this guy was hot and heavy into one, and I could not believe what I was hearing. I mean, it was like gambling and drug addiction. He had lost his wife. He had lost his kids. He had lost his house. He had lost his job. He lived on the streets. This guy went into so much. And see, I'm really interested in like cop shows. My wife don't like a good murder before bed, but I do. But I would just like to say that it's obviously the young that this is affecting, that worries me. Just like, in church, you're supposed to get the young while they're early. But, I'm not going to tell you that government's the way to go. But there's got to be some kind of deterrent, because at a young age, this has got to be poisoning these young people. But I would also like to say this about social media. I am so glad that I didn't grow up in a social media life. Everything is at your fingertips. I would be a cop's worst nightmare because he couldn't find nothing on me on the internet. That's how they catch him. They go in on the internet. Well, this guy ain't got nothing on him. Chris, you can look up how to build a bomb. You can look up how to commit the perfect murder. You can look up anything you want. It's at your fingertips. And people are getting their lives destroyed so early in life. But I just wanted to say, that's what I know about it. So,
hey, I appreciate the call, Calvin. Thanks so much, man. I always love it when you weigh in. That's the distinguished gentleman from Lebanon, Tennessee. Sam in Nashville, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Sam?
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Good. Hey, thanks for holding, man. I know you've been holding for a minute. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good topic. I wanted to weigh in. I'm kind of concerned. First of all, let me just start by saying, porn is very bad, particularly for minors. Like one of your callers, I too am a therapist. But I also want to say something that not many people have said, that there are some adults out there that use it in their sex life as a stimulant, so to speak. So it's not all used badly. I agree that how it's created sometimes has some bad things behind it. So like your therapist before said, the neurotransmitters play a lot to do with it when it comes to the children. But porn is ancient, been out there for a long time. You can find it way back hundreds of years.
No, I get all that. I just think that at this young age, like we need to do something because kids are being exposed to this stuff younger and younger and younger. And even like adults, like I get adults are going to do adult things, but there's like dangers to porn as an adult too. There's studies that say accessing porn in your marriage doubles the chances of divorce. Like, is that a society we want to live in?
No. I agree that there are negatives for adults as well. My biggest concern is we could do this without stepping on privacy or having people's information all out there. I'd be for it. But you talked about you going a strip club, you have to show an ID, but they're not taking pictures of that ID and filing it away. So my concern is what's going to happen with this information. And I'm also concerned about how our Tennessee lawmakers pick and choose. They want to attack vice, but they can't even monitor their own behavior on the Hill. I mean, if they chase interns and abuse them, the leadership just covers it up. So
I totally hear your concerns. I just feel like we need to do something to help protect the most vulnerable in our society.
Agreed. So what are we going to do about Grand Theft Auto? Kids out there practicing jacking cars. What are we going to do about, am I, as a kid, going to still be able to go on the Colt website and look at all these firearms? Because we got a major adolescent firearm problem in Nashville, but nobody wants to address that. I deal with kids and alcohol all the time. Are kids going to still be able to go on the Jim Beam site and look at how to make a cocktail?
But they have to put an ID in to buy the alcohol.
Agreed. But again, that ID is not. Do they take a picture of that ID and store it? So that's just my concern. Where does the privacy issue stop?
Well, I would wonder. I would wonder if you go to a strip club, how long do they keep the surveillance video of you walking inside?
Good question. And who do they share it with?
Yeah, I mean these are all good questions. But I don't want to make perfect the enemy of the good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Hey, I appreciate your call, Sam, and thanks so much for holding as long as you did, man. I really do appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Hey, thanks, bud. Let's go to Tammy in Clarksville. Tammy, what do you think?
Hey, Chris. My thoughts are everybody's talking about government overreach. Well, if you don't go to a porn site, the government's not going to get your ID.
This is fair. This is true. Yeah. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Tammy. I appreciate you. Let's go to Billy in Nashville. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Billy?
I just believe that it is government overreach for the simple fact that what they need to do instead of worrying about that is hold the parents more responsible, that if they do find that their underage child gets on it, have a series of penalties for them that progressively gets worse, including jail time. Make the parents responsible for their children. I was responsible for mine when I raised them.
I hear you, but there's going to be, like, you can be the most responsible parent out there. There's going to be a kid on the bus whose parents don't pay attention at all.
But then something happened, and if there's a slip up, and you punish that child because you got punished, I guarantee you they're going to remember it if you punish them properly.
Yeah, but they're also going to remember the porn they were exposed to. If the porn now is so graphic, dude, that's going to be something that they're never going to be able to get out of their head. It's going to change them instantly forever.
I don't think it will. Them looking at it maybe one time and then they get caught and something happens to them. I think that
for some kids you might be right, but depending on the graphic nature of what they've seen, I'm not sure if that's true.
Okay, I just we'll agree to disagree because I was brought up, and I know if I did something like that, and my parents found out, I probably wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, but also, Billy, when you were brought up, I'd argue that the access to this stuff wasn't as easily at your fingertips as it is today.
True.
You know what I mean? Like we're talking apples and oranges here.
Yeah, but there's parental blocks on all this electronic equipment too.
That's fair, but it's only on the equipment that you have. That doesn't help when it comes to the kid whose parents aren't paying attention. It's better. It is far better to be in front of this than to be. Let's be proactive and not reactive.
See, that's where you're talking about the parents. You just said yourself, the parents that are not attentive. So that actually goes back on the parents.
I agree with you, but if I'm a good parent, why should bad parents be like rippling out and affecting my family? If we can do something simple like you have to show your ID to view one of these sites, and that stops a kid from seeing it at 8 years old, 9 years old, is that not a good thing?
Kids these days are so electronic tech savvy that they could probably get a picture of your ID if they wanted to and use it.
So we shouldn't try anything. We should at what point do we just provide the porn for the kids?
No, I'm not saying provide it for them. I'm saying hold the adults in that family more responsible. Or even if they do pass this bill and there is somebody who gets by, hold the parents responsible. I just don't like, I'm sorry, this is not, I'm 65 years old, and this is not the same United States I grew up in, and I know it's not. I know there's a lot of stuff going on out there these days that didn't go on back then, but I also know that it's just these days what I see in the nucleus of the family you just didn't see back then, and that's part of the downfall of our country, but it's also maybe if we, along with doing this, if they're going to do this, I want to see them make tougher laws for the parents, for the kids that do it. Even if your kid does it and you don't think they do it and they got around it, if the parent's punished, I guarantee you that child will be punished too, and maybe it's still in that child's mind. I don't think that child will do it again.
I hear you, but like you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube, Billy.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate your call, man. Thanks so much. Let's go to. Oh man, we got a full line here. Let's go to Chris in the Borough. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Chris. I wanted to address what the topic you've been talking about. I think the thing that makes the difference between sort of, I guess the last gentleman that was on there, when he grew up and the kids that are growing up now is really, as you say, the access. And I think there's much better ways to restrict access using the devices that the kids have, rather than sort of opening the can of worms of sort of putting your ID out there. I definitely agree that there needs to be some sort of filter for these children, and not just porn. I feel like sort of, you see it all the time. You see parents just hand their iPad over, or the kids have their own phone or their own iPad when they're 4 or 5 years old, and they grow up with that, and that's okay. That's our culture. I get that.
However, that's where we disagree. I don't think that's okay at all. I don't think a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old should have their own iPad or phone.
I might have been a little bit hyperbolic with that, but my point is, young children are getting their own devices and using them just like adults. In fact, more so, because, as you point out as well, that kids tend to be very tech savvy. They help each other along, and they move along faster than the adults do. However, at the same time, whenever you get a new phone, there are really no restrictions, very, very few restrictions. And I feel like this responsibility should be put back onto the companies that provide the phones, so that there are a greater sort of filter for kids under a certain age, and that can easily be done with technology. That's not a hard thing at all. You can restrict on your Wi-Fi. You can restrict certain sites just going through your Wi-Fi. You can do the same thing through your devices, and I think that there needs to be better as things progress even further. I think there needs to be more restrictions or I guess more responsibility put onto the makers and sellers of the technical devices to provide better protection for parents or at least aid parents in doing that. I agree that something needs to be done. I'm not sure the ID thing. I don't know. I'm very skeptical of where that could go. I can see that being a can of worms that's going to be hard to close.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Chris, and a lot of people have that being their main issue. I did get a text here. It says, please don't announce my number, but as a young man struggling with quitting porn, I think this is a good idea. I'm all for it myself. Friends and coworkers struggle with this. I fully support this. I feel a majority of people will too. That was from the Members Nutrition text line. I feel like there are so many men in our current culture that are struggling with porn and porn addictions, and I think that it is absolutely affecting their relationships, their marriages, their just general life, and something needs to be done about it. And I feel like there's a lot of people that deal with this as an issue, and you wire yourself to say it's not an issue, but it absolutely is. It absolutely is. So I'm all for doing something to slow down kids' access to this. I am. What do you think? 615-737-9986. It's 1023 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. You know Paul. I know Paul. We all know Paul. He's been hosting his radio show, The Investor Coaching Show, for over 20 years. It runs every Saturday here on WTN from 3 to 6. He always brings so much knowledge to the table, but you may not know where he got that knowledge. He actually got a lot of his knowledge, Paul did, after spending time studying under an economist who went on to win a Nobel Prize. That's how he cut his teeth in that industry. And he's also an avid collector of financial planning designations. He has up to 8 now. My wife and I, we work with Paul. We heard his show on WTN way before I got my show on WTN. And when I started working here, me and my wife both said we got to work with Paul. And here's why. Paul's team, they hold themselves to the highest level of fiduciary status. As such, I have to tell you, I get paid when I do these commercials. I actually like that Paul makes me tell you that. I think that honesty and transparency is so clutch, but I don't get paid to be a client. I chose to be a client, and I chose to be a client because his team does nothing on commission. That's huge for me. It really is. When they give you financial advice, you can be sure that it's for you and not for them, because nothing they do is on commission. And they'll teach you and guide you every single step of the way. The education that they'll bring to the table for you will help make sure you never get that uneasy feeling of blind trust. So let Paul's team look at your entire financial picture and then help you make decisions. Set up a 15-minute phone call today at paulwinkler.com. The website is paulwinkler.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandison. What an absolute mess. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. Look at my closets. Unorganized to say the least. Even my window dormer is a train wreck. Stuff is everywhere. Now, luckily, California Closets is coming to my rescue. My personal design consultant, Vince, stopped by, measured, and is now showing me how to become more space efficient and organized on his 3D CAD system. It is amazing. And soon, my space is going to be organized, and yes, even Bandit approves. California Closets, a local company that can customize the storage in any room of your house. California Closets, what can they do for you? Find them online at californiaclosets.com and reach out for your free in-home consultation. Hey, it's Dan Mandison. I love my Patriot Supply. It's emergency food so you can care for your family no matter what. And today, we're fixing creamy chicken flavored rice. And the thing I love about my Patriot Supply, it's easy. You just get the water, turn on the heat, and in minutes, we are ready to go. Now, this food lasts for 25 years in special packaging, and yes, it does taste great. And in just minutes, it's ready to eat. Patriots don't rely on the government to take care of their family in emergencies. It's up to you. Order right now and get $200 off a 3-month food kit. It's important to go to preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. That's preparewithmandis.com to get that great discount. Preparewithmandis.com. $200 off a 3-month food kit.
Right now in Middle Tennessee, got a renewed search for Sebastian Rogers, missing since late February from his Hendersonville area home. We've got Kentucky storm damage coverage for you, details, witnesses, testimony on that. Tennessee lawmakers advancing a number of gun bills. These stories and more, 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So many people want to weigh in on this discussion. I mean, the phone lines have been packed. Tennessee moving closer to requiring photo ID to access porn websites. A lot of messages coming in on the members nutrition text line, and it is a lot of people being completely honest and you know, raw in how they're dealing with porn addiction. A lot of people weighing in saying, hey, I just turned on the radio, and if I'm saying something that's already been covered, please forgive, but pornography addiction is not just a male issue. I have a close friend whose young daughter is fully in the throes of addiction to pornography, and it is a real problem in her life. This is absolutely a huge issue in America today. And it's one of those issues that nobody really wants to talk about, porn addiction. But it is. It's a big issue. It's affecting a lot of people. It's affecting their relationships. And kids are seeing it younger and younger and younger. So I think that it's good that Tennessee wants to require photo ID to access porn websites. I think this is fantastic. And I get a lot of messages. I got a first-time texter here. It said, you need to man up, be a parent, not let them have a phone until they are responsible. It's the parent's job to be the parent, not a corporation. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth in that statement. I do. And just to respond to your text, first-time texter, which I appreciate your text, my kids don't have phones. They don't. It absolutely is my job to be a parent. But when someone else isn't being a parent to their kids, you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. You can't. It's crazy. But I want to get your thoughts on it. Walker, Steve, Gail, Jim, Cody, Fletch. I mean, we got a roster of calls we'll get to next after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
10:30 on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We'll tell you about the changes in the weather during the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, TBI special agents, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, and multiple trained search teams from surrounding counties are conducting a ground search today as part of the effort to find Sebastian Rogers. The 15-year-old autistic boy has been missing from his Hendersonville area home since late February. Authorities say this search effort today is focused in the Long Hollow Pike area. Tennessee seems to have avoided major damage from yesterday's storm outbreak, but not Kentucky. In Prospect, Kentucky, Perry Snowden's helping to clean up his parents' house.
We just carried out glass, all the wood that's inside, and started cleaning up the best we could.
Now the storm system heading east, where communities in the Carolinas are at risk for severe weather. And back here in Tennessee, gun bills advancing at the state capitol, including one that lets teachers and school staff carry on campus as long as they have an advanced permit and undergo training. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. A lot of people on the Members Nutrition text line saying, I can't wait to hear what Murphy thinks about this topic. I just talked to him. He popped in here.
You going to give us a tease? Or
do you want to know what he thinks?
Yeah.
He'll be on at noon. Let's go to Fletch in Nashville. He wants to talk about the move to ban, or not ban pornography, but require photo ID to access porn websites. Fletch, what do you think about this bill?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm good. I don't think the bill's going to do anything personally, just like all your other callers have said, just because kids are smart with tech, man. But my big issue, man, it's not banning porn, dude. What they need to get cracked down on is like the OnlyFans and the stuff like that, man. You look at percentages, and it's what is it, like female girls are like 20% more addicted to porn than female kids are, or female boys were from like our generation. And the thing is, dude, you look at these OnlyFans accounts with these girls, man, they're so young, dude, and they're ruining their whole life and what's ahead of them. Because for me personally, it's what I've tried to talk to some of them about. You know, you don't realize what you're putting out there. And then say 10 years down the road after you finish school, finish college, meet a nice man, he's got a respectable family, everything like that, and then some dirty secret comes up, it's like, that's terrible. Or when your kids go through school, man, like there's some of these kids that are found out their moms are like porn stars and their kids are like their classmates are watching them. Dude, imagine what that's going to do to your kids, man.
Yeah.
It's just another way of taking the easy way out, of taking easy money. And it's just like, to be honest, like you said, man, it's just one step closer into making just all Americans just sexual deviants, dude.
I don't think this bill is going to fix everything. Like, I don't think that this is going to be a one step, everything's fixed. But I do think that it's going to say it's going to save those kids that are accidentally finding themselves on these sites. I got a text here where it was a kid was watching Minecraft videos and accidentally clicked a few links and ended up watching porn. And it's like, this stuff just has to stop. And if there's a text box pops up and says you need to put in your ID, some kids can get around it. Not all of them, and it'll stop that accidental stuff in its tracks.
I do agree. I mean, it's a right step. Don't get me wrong. I do agree. Like, go ahead and do it. But do I think it's going to solve the root of the problem? No. Do I think it's a good step? Sure. But at the end of the day, man, it's like, I don't know if you watched that Quiet on the Set documentary about these Nickelodeon kids.
Yep.
You know about these Nickelodeon kids, man. You hear it's going on at Disney, too. But then you go back and watch some of those clips, man. Like that one they keep showing of Ariana Grande laying on a bed backwards in a bedroom, just like pouring milk on herself upside down. Like, man, like some of the things, like I didn't watch them obviously, but seeing them after watching the documentary that they're putting out there just in kids TV shows alone, man.
There's definitely a movement
out there.
There's definitely a movement to sexualize children, without a doubt.
There is, dude.
And I just feel like, I mean, I know you're a dad, and it's like, we need to do everything we can to fight against this. And if this is the first step in the right direction, then let's do it.
Do you know what I tell everybody? My son has autism and he's nonverbal. And I tell everybody in today's society, when people are like, man, it's got to be hard, it's got to be a handful. I say, yeah, sometimes it is. But at the end of the day, dude, like, I am so blessed to have him and not have a typical child coming up dealing with all these typical issues. I've got my own crazy autism world I'm dealing with, but I'm not having to deal with my kid watching crazy porn or getting it shown to him at school or all that stuff. And it's like, that is so scary to me for like some of my friends where, I'm I guess what you'd want to call sometimes a helicopter parent with my kid, know? And it's like, I'm so involved in everything he's doing because I gotta be, but when I grew up, it was, go out the front door, see when the street lights come on, don't get arrested, don't get hurt. You know what I mean? It's what it is. And I know a lot of my friends are the same way with their kids. And it's like, I got a buddy of mine who's 13-year-old just got taken advantage of by one of her good friends' parents, and he had
Jeez.
no idea, no idea, and it's just like, it's scary, man, because it's like they're making it acceptable. They're pushing it out there to kids. You look at this younger generation, and I'll go on that, dude, the whole transgender shit, I mean, all of it. Sorry about that. I probably shouldn't have cut. All of it, man. All of it.
Yeah, I hear you, Fletch, and I appreciate your call, man. Thanks so much.
Peace.
Let's go to Steven, who's driving a truck. Steven, you're next on Super Talk. What do you think about this?
Oh, my God, Chris, I got so many comments I want to comment on, but I'll limit myself to two. The first one is your first-time caller who said, man up, be a dad. That is unrealistic. Unless you're glued to your child's hip, you're not going to be able to watch and see everything they see and everything they do. So, in that point, I agree with you. On the other one, your other caller, Chris, from the borough, spot on with the device. Why aren't we, in those other states, going to the cell phone providers and saying, ban porn on all your devices? End of discussion. That would stop the kids on the school bus from viewing porn on their device, and then go to the internet service providers and go along with the bill. Use a photo ID, use the porn.
Yeah, I hear you, Steve. I think going after the devices is a good step. I appreciate your call, and thanks for hanging on the line so much. I got a text message here on the Members Nutrition text line. 1480 says, the easiest way to block or manage porn is force the .xxx extension to a porn domain. So instead of .com, it would be .xxx. He goes on to say, our fine Congress did not approve that direction due to porn lobby. Once that extension is in place, it can be completely controlled. I would be in favor of that. I would be absolutely in favor of that. Jim in Coffee County, you're next on Super Talk. Jim, thanks for holding on the line, man. What's up?
Oh, thank you. Well, I agree that something needs to be done, but I don't know whether this proposed legislation will do much or not. But I remember in the early 70s, 1970s, whenever the Warren Court legalized porn, they said that if that movie or video had any redeeming value, then you couldn't declassify as porn and prohibit it. And so since then, we've had all these porn movies and porn sites come about in the computer age. And it looks to me like some state attorney generals could get together and file a lawsuit and overturn that law and cut off all this nationalized pornography at the source.
Yeah, I mean,
if they could do that, that would do away with it, and it would drive it underground like it was in the 70s.
These are things that I would be for, Jim. I appreciate it, and I know people will tell me, well, it's free speech, right? It's a First Amendment thing, and I get that argument. I just think that there's far more damage coming from the porn industry than any net positive. Is there any net positive coming from the porn industry? Can anybody tell me one positive thing that the porn industry does? So we're talking about this because Tennessee's moving closer to requiring a photo ID to access porn websites. Tennessee will join. Is looking to join a group of states. Kansas last week became the 9th state to approve this kind of an age verification law. Texas, Arkansas, Indiana, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, Utah, Virginia all have similar laws on the books. 19 more states have introduced similar legislation. Pornhub disabled their site in Texas due to the state's age verification laws. This stuff does work, or Pornhub wouldn't be putting up such a stink about it in Texas. But I want to know what you think. Karen in the borough, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Karen?
Hello. Thank you for talking about this, because it is such a big problem. My marriage of 30 years ended because my ex-husband is addicted to pornography, and it's a start. It's a really good start, but I mean, he would look at porn on his company computers, his company phone.
Jeez.
preachers don't talk about it. They don't preach about it from the pulpit. It's, you know, it's way out there. And now I have grandchildren that are the age that my ex-husband started looking at porn himself. And it's scary because I see where he has come since he was 10, and to where pornography, it's just so open and out there. Something has to be done. It has to. It's killing our babies. It's killing our kids. They're losing their childhood.
Yep.
And it's going on. You know, law enforcement, they don't take it seriously. You know, it progresses like Jason Lancaster here in Murfreesboro, the teacher that started in high school, you know, going after the girls, and now I think it's 13 years later, now he's charged with rape. I mean, nobody takes it seriously. It is not taken seriously, and it has to be. It has to. Wherever the start is, anything I think will help.
Yep, I'm with you, Karen, and I appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that this is going to be a magic wand and it will immediately stop every kid from ever seeing pornography ever. But I do know that nothing is being done to protect them right now. And we could do a lot more as a society to protect them. And I think this is a step in the right direction. Robin in the borough, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Robin?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to chime in because I'm married to a man that got hooked on porn before we got married, and it was devastating to me because he was a Christian. He is a Christian. I was a Christian. I am a Christian, and it was literally devastating to me. We had 2 small children and little babies, and it really messed up our marriage. He struggled with it for years. We've been married for almost 39 years, and in 2017, I actually filed for divorce because he couldn't get a handle on it. And I told him I couldn't live with him anymore. And he chose to go the route where he didn't want me to divorce him. He didn't want us to be separated. And he has actually conquered it with the Lord's help. And but it devastates people's lives. It has affected our intimacy over the years, and that is a terrible thing. And it affected our children, which is a terrible thing. They're both adults now. And I constantly, not constantly, but occasionally, I talk to my son to make sure that his head's in the right place, because I know how devastating it can be to a marriage and a family. And I don't think this bill is strict enough. I think every little bit helps, but I think I think porn needs to be outlawed, period.
I hear you, Robin. And listen, I appreciate you calling and sharing that. I think there are a lot of guys out there that are facing similar situations like your husband, and it doesn't get talked about enough. Exactly. porn addiction is definitely ravaging the society.
Yeah.
So, but I think that we can't really legislate adult behavior, but we can do whatever we can to protect kids.
Yes. Well, and before you would have to go and buy magazines. You know, you'd have to actually go into a store and buy the magazine where people can see you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the books and whatnot. Where now, you know, you can just be sitting in the privacy of your home and just get filled with that garbage. And it literally, it destroys a man's soul and a woman. And I know that it's affecting women too, but I think men are, it's harder for men because men are so visual.
And I think that's where a lot of the pushback comes from. You made a point where it's like, you know, you would have to go into a store, you would have to go somewhere public to get the porn, and that was a deterrent for a lot of people. It was embarrassing, and I think a lot of people pushing back on this would be embarrassed to have to put their ID in on a porn site. I think that is a huge deterrent to using pornographic websites, and I think that people are pushing back against it because of that.
Yes. Absolutely.
Hey, I appreciate your call. Robin. Thank you so much. Ashley in Hendersonville, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Ashley?
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Ashley?
So good, thank you. I am so excited about this conversation because I agree with you. 100% it is needed. I'm going to take us back to when we were children and what's happening back then, but now much more, is when our kids are growing up, it could be a lot about the movies we watch. We have become so unsensitive to nudity in movies. And my thought is at a young age, if we're allowing our children to watch these movies that have nudity in it, is that possibly causing an interest in this as they get older?
Well, we were talking earlier.
I was a parent.
Mac and I were talking earlier about Quiet on the Set and how all of those kids shows on Nickelodeon were sexualizing children. I think that is definitely subliminal entry into this world.
Absolutely. As a parent of 4, my husband and I never allowed nudity in our home, and even now my husband and I do not watch movies with nudity in it, because I do believe that could spark that interest as a young age, as a boy or a girl, which may eventually lead. I'm not saying that it does cause it. I'm just wondering, it's a thought that I do have, if that could be kind of allowing that emotion and the mental of wanting to see those images early on, and then maybe leading up to what can cause this addiction.
Hey, I appreciate the call, Ashley, and I appreciate your insight. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
You too. God bless. All right, let's go to Scott in Old Hickory. Scott, you're next on Super Talk.
How you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
Doing fine. I've been sitting here listening to all the comments and stuff and everything. Yeah, there's definitely a problem with porn, of course, but, something that nobody that I've heard has even said anything about it. We're teaching our kids in 4th and 5th grade about sex. I mean, why is that? That's something that should not even be taught in 4th and 5th grade. So does people not think kids are going to be curious?
Yeah.
First off. Second off is back in the day, you'd have to go into a store, present a photo ID to prove that you're 18 to buy a Playboy magazine. Yep. In the meantime, why can't they take and do something with the internet and buy with any kind of device, whether it's a computer, iPad, phone, or whatever, that you got to be 18 and you got to take and get all this. Whoever purchases it has to take and enter in their ID, so a kid cannot just go buy a cell phone and start looking at porn. No. I mean, we got all this other devices that we can do this and do that on, but that's not being done. So, kids are going to be curious about it.
Yeah, I hear you, Scott, and I think that we need to do something to help protect them. I appreciate your call, man. It is 10:54 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Okay, so I kept hearing Dan Mandis and Matt Murphy talk about the Glock store. Not even talk about it, rave about the Glock store. And so I was thinking, cool, gun store, it has a range. I've seen those, right? We've all seen those. But then they're like, no, you have to go check it out. You have to go check it out. So I went. I went on Monday. I checked out the Glock store. Guys, way, way above my expectations. In one word, the Glock store is amazing. I mean, the store is huge, big, bright, stocked and staffed with the friendliest, most knowledgeable people ever, especially if you're asking about home and self-defense. They have all the answers. They've heard all the questions, and that's what they specialize in. Well, that, and they have custom Glocks. Beautiful custom Glocks that you have to see to believe. I was also amazed at all the performance parts that they make right here in Nashville. Their factory inside the Glock store is insane. Laser cutters, guys doing all this different stuff, and they make it right there. Pyramid triggers, extended controls, tungsten guide rods, and they install them all for you for free while you wait. You don't get that anywhere else. But the biggest surprise that I got was from the Shoot 270 indoor ranges and what they had to offer. Or I guess what they didn't have to offer would be the better way to describe it, because they don't have lanes. They have private shooting rooms with personal instructors, and I cannot wait to have my first session with my wife and I. She can't wait either. You should set up your first session if you haven't been there yet. The Glock Store and GlockStore.com, minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
11 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Some change in the weather, huh? We'll tell you about what the rest of the week holds during the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, we have an update on the search for Sebastian Rogers. TBI special agents, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, and multiple trained search teams from surrounding counties are conducting a ground search today to find the 15-year-old autistic boy missing from his Hendersonville area home since late February. Authorities say this search effort today is focused in the Long Hollow Pike area. Seems like Tennessee avoided major destruction from yesterday's storm outbreak, but not some of our neighbors, including Dunbar, West Virginia, where a giant billboard flattened this man's car.
It's a 1010. No repair can fix that. It's total gone.
Governor Andy Beshear declaring a state of emergency in Kentucky after tornadoes packing 100-mile-per-hour winds touched down near Louisville. And right now in Oklahoma, Jim Ryan says the state Supreme Court is weighing what to do a century after a white mob destroyed a section of Tulsa known as Black Wall Street after an appeal for reparations from the attorneys for two 109-year-old women yesterday.
Leslie Benningfield Randall and Viola Ford Fletcher were there in 1921 when Tulsa's Greenwood neighborhood was burned to the ground. Their attorney, Demario Solomon Simmons, blames the city and county of Tulsa
because of the blight in Greenwood that they created during the massacre and is continuing to this day.
Keith Wilkes represents Tulsa County.
Counsel for the appellants claimed Greenwood was never rebuilt. This assertion is simply not supported by history.
The Oklahoma Supreme Court will now decide whether the case for reparations can continue.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, do we have the best listeners in Tennessee? You guys turned what was a topic on the fly into a 2-hour discussion, and I thank you for that. I really do. But we should probably talk about other things as well. Did you know that a new Trump hoax dropped?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was excited about this.
Yeah, hit me.
Like, you get tired of like the old hoaxes. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right, you got to bring the hits. So we had the Russia collusion hoax.
Of course.
Perfectly fine phone call hoax.
Of course.
Good people on both sides hoax.
Oh, I couldn't forget that one.
No, that might have been the best hoax.
Best hoax ever.
The best hoax ever. Then more recently, we had the bloodbath hoax.
Oh, yeah.
Where he said it would be a bloodbath for the auto industry. But we had a fresh hoax drop yesterday. Trump was jet setting around. He was in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He got a big endorsement from the Michigan Police Officers Association. They endorsed him. They'd endorsed him in 2016 and in 2020. Although I wonder if a police association's endorsement weighs more heavy today than it did in 2020 or 2016. Do you know what I mean? I think maybe it does. But anyway, so he's in Michigan. Then he went over to Wisconsin. He had a big rally in Wisconsin. Green Bay. Dude, the snow is falling. It is a winter wonderland, as the kids like to call it, and Trump can't be stopped. He still makes it to the rally on time. I think it was Nikki Haley was canceling her, would you call them rallies or more like get-togethers?
Oh, yeah.
The get-togethers in Iowa over snow. Trump doesn't worry about snow. He just employs the Trump plow train, and he goes. So he shows up, Wisconsin, fresh snow, banger of a rally. I got all the highlights for you. But the Democrats, it's in particular the Biden campaign HQ Twitter account, they did what they do. They took something out of context, and then they said, "See, that's what they do. See, we told you, Orange Man bad." So the new Trump hoax dropped. All right, so I'm gonna play you the clip that the Democrats isolated, and then I'll play you the clip in context. Does that sound fun? You want to do that? All right. Here's the clip that they isolated.
The Democrats say, "Please don't call them animals. They're humans." I said, "No, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals."
And then all the Democrats went, "See, he's calling these migrants animals." Can you believe that, man? What a monster! What a monster! They left out the context.
The 22-year-old nursing student in Georgia who was barbarically murdered by an illegal alien animal. The Democrats say, "Please don't call them animals. They're humans." I said, "No, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals." And Nancy Pelosi told me that. She said, "Please don't use the word animal, sir, when you're talking about these people." I said, "I'll use the word animal because that's what they are."
With the context, it's clear what he's talking about. He's talking about the people that come across our border illegally and then murder American citizens. But, the president, he's an orange man. He does bad things. And his whole rally was labeled Biden's border bloodbath. But it's true. And we see it time and time again, that it is a bloodbath because of the border. I saw a story yesterday. An illegal Haitian sexually abuses a 10-year-old repeatedly. I don't need to go into much more detail than that. We heard the story of the mentally incapacitated girl who was raped by an illegal alien. It is a bloodbath what's happening on the border. In Michigan, he talked about the 25-year-old woman, Ruby Garcia, and 22-year-old Leah Gomez in Michigan as well, both murdered by alleged illegal aliens. He brought up Laken Riley, who was killed by a previously deported illegal alien. And there's so many of these cases. Young children becoming the victims of illegal aliens. It's so sad. And something needs to be done. But when the White House press secretary is asked about it, she says that calling what's happening on the border a bloodbath is actually, get this, violent rhetoric.
Right. Going back to the bloodbath question, the former president used that terminology a week or two ago, but he's talking about it again today. What's the White House reaction to the use of that term bloodbath?
I'm going to be really mindful here because it is President, obviously the former president is also a candidate here, so want to follow the law with the Hatch Act. But we have to denounce. Our response is we have to denounce any violent rhetoric that we hear, certainly from our leaders, right, that tears our country apart. It could tear up our country apart and puts our fellow Americans in harm's way, in danger. So we have to denounce that. And look, I think and we think that the American people wants to see the country coming together.
The American people want to see the country come together. We can't have all this violent rhetoric. We want to come together, says the press secretary. It's amazing. It's amazing. She goes on in this press conference to remind everybody that illegal aliens, they strengthen our country and our economy.
Is the view of this administration that the inflow of immigrants do more to strengthen the United States or hurt the United States? Does it do more?
So, Josh, I appreciate the question, and I think it's an important question as we're hearing clearly awful rhetoric from the other side.
Awful rhetoric from the other side. I wonder how Lake and Riley's family would answer that question.
But what we know, what this president believes, and you've heard this president say this before, is that we know immigrants strengthen our country and our economy as well.
Oh, okay. They strengthen our country and our economy. But she's asked, does the White House believe that there's a bloodbath on the border?
Does the White House believe that there is a bloodbath taking place or a wave of migrant crime?
Look, we've been very clear about, I just laid out to Josh, when it comes to immigrants, how important they are to the fabric of this country, how important they are to the strength of this country, to our economy. And that continues to be true, right? That's something that this president believes.
So she just dodges the question. Because the truth of the matter is Americans are losing their lives because of the wide open southern border. And it's not always just at the hands of illegal aliens. It's also at the hands of the fentanyl that's pouring across the southern border. It's disgraceful. But Trump is the one with violent rhetoric. That's Trump. Luckily, Peter Doocy was there, and he pushed back. He said, when Trump uses the term bloodbath, it's violent rhetoric, right? But Joe Biden has used the term bloodbath before.
So when Donald Trump is talking about a bloodbath, it is violent rhetoric. What was it when Joe Biden said in 2020, what we can't let happen is let this primary become a negative bloodbath?
So I'm going to be really mindful and careful about Donald Trump, but if you read, because he is a candidate, we're talking about a 2024 election, you should read what he said in its context. So you got to read what he said in context.
Oh, wait. Did Karine Jean-Pierre just say you have to read what the president said in context? Because it's amazing to me, every hoax that they drop on Trump, it's taking quotes out of context. But she says, you have to read what Joe Biden said in context. That's the important part. The context is important. So Doocy pushes back. He says, okay, so bloodbath is ugly when Biden uses it. Bloodbath is not ugly when Biden uses it, but it is when Trump does.
Bloodbath is an ugly word. Trump uses it, what is it when Biden uses it?
No. Let's be very clear. You got to actually ask me the question in context of what it was said, right? And what it was said when he said that, right? In his remarks, in his speech, right? And so that's being disingenuous in your question.
I'm reading a direct quote from Joe Biden. What we can't let happen is let this primary become a negative bloodbath.
He was talking about a group of people. A group of people. That's what he's talking about. What the president was talking about during the primary was not to allow it to be the words and the primary and that election to become negative.
Oh. Actually, the original bloodbath hoax where Trump mentioned it the first time, he was talking about the auto industry if Joe Biden is reelected. But they ignore that context. And they've moved on. Trump to his credit, has taken the bloodbath hoax and used it to his advantage to highlight the wave of crime coming from illegal aliens across our southern border, to highlight the deaths coming from fentanyl, which is coming across our southern border. But it's about, it's okay when Joe Biden does it.
Two different things. They're not the same. They're not the same. And your question is disingenuous. And so, look, I'm going to be really mindful here. I'm going to be really careful. We have to denounce violent rhetoric, wherever it comes from. A former leader, we have to denounce that. Because we saw what happened on January 6th. We saw what happened there. When you have a mob of 2,000 people go to the Capitol because they didn't believe in the free and fair election that just happened months prior.
You know that she's like losing her argument when she's like, hey, by the way, on January 6th, there was a mob of people at the Capitol.
Because of violent rhetoric?
The violent rhetoric when Trump said, let's peacefully and patriotically make our voices heard. Ah!
You got to denounce that. That's not what leaders should be doing.
Oh, okay. All right. Yep. Sounds about right. I mean, this tracks with the Biden administration, right? Trump in Michigan made sure to say that the border is the biggest issue happening. And he says that when he's elected, he's going to seal the border.
With your vote, I will seal the border. I will stop the invasion. I will end the carnage, bloodshed, and killing. And we will crush the human traffickers. You know, they traffic in women, mostly in women. We will vanquish the child smugglers. And we will liberate this nation from Crooked Joe and his migrant armies of dangerous criminals once and for all. This is an invasion of our country.
How can he keep getting away with this violent rhetoric? My goodness. He can't just go out there and speak the truth. Why? We can't let him just be talking about what's happening on ground level. But the border is the biggest issue. Then he goes on to say it's actually, it's destroying America. It's going to destroy Social Security and it's going to destroy Medicare.
One of the most important issues in this race will be how Joe Biden's border invasion is also going to obliterate Medicare and Social Security for American seniors. What he's doing by allowing millions, 15 million, 20 million people this year, I think it's already 15, he's destroying your Social Security. He's destroying your Medicare and many things else. He's also destroying your way of life. If the millions of Biden migrants are allowed to stay as Joe Biden intends, they will cost taxpayers trillions and trillions of dollars, and Medicare and Social Security will buckle and they will collapse. You know, it's very tenuous. You understand that?
Yeah, we understand. And we're paying boatloads of money for these illegal aliens, paying for their health care, paying for their housing, paying for their schooling. It is unsustainable. Completely unsustainable. But, hey, if that's what you're for, you're more than welcome to vote for Joe Biden. But, the alternative is Trump.
If you want to help Joe Biden wheel Granny off the cliff to fund government benefits for illegals, then vote for Crooked Joe Biden. But when I am president, instead of throwing Granny overboard, I will send Joe Biden's illegal aliens back home. You're going back home. You have to know. And if they know that, remember this, if they know that, they're not coming. The problem is Biden got up and he said, welcome, everybody. Welcome to the world. And we'll give you free education. We'll give you everything. But welcome to the world. And they came. And they're coming now. There's a massive caravan right now coming through Mexico. And nobody is stopping it.
No, and this is the thing. If we didn't have the welcome sign out, they wouldn't come. And they stopped coming under Trump. And that could happen again. Oh, gosh, I can't wait for November. Is anybody else excited for November? I am. Very excited. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, here to tell you about my friends at Members Nutrition. MembersNutrition.com is the website. If you are, really taking note of where your health is and where it needs to be, you're probably taking vitamins and supplements. Well, do you know where your vitamins and supplements are coming from? If you're buying them off the big retail store shelves, first, you're probably paying too much. And second, you're probably supporting a country way overseas. They're probably coming from China. But membersnutrition.com is fixing both of those problems. They're bringing you affordable and quality supplements at a fraction of the normal retail cost, and they're made in the USA. No matter what type of supplements or vitamins you're in the market for, they have it all. Immunity supplements, weight loss, detox, men's health, women's health, relaxation supplements. They have it all. And if you're a member at membersnutrition.com, you get an extra 50% off your purchase of their already discounted prices. This is huge. And I swear by Members Nutrition, I've used a lot of their products like the Youthful Cleanse by Daily Defense to flush the toxins out of your system because, let's be honest, in this day and age, everything from the air we breathe to the food we eat is just leaving our body riddled with toxins. And the Youthful Cleanse will flush all of that out, giving you optimal colon and liver health, gut health. It's so important. And then after that, you can jump in on the immunity supplements, the men's health, the relaxation supplements. Anything you need, they have it at membersnutrition.com, and you will not believe how low the prices are. Membersnutrition.com is where you need to go for all of your vitamins and supplements. Membersnutrition.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Got another ground search underway for Sebastian Rogers. A Kentucky storm damage assessment coming up. Also a midday check of Wall Street. These stories at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I got a text on the Members Nutrition text line. Said, what is the music on the Chris Hand show? I said, I don't know. I have a few different ones.
Yeah, which music?
That's what I said. And they said, it's open and closed, deep bass instrumental. I was like, that's
it's
that's pretty much every single
that's all
one
of them.
Yeah.
I do have the best music out of any show.
Oh, yeah.
Bingo.
Not even anecdotal.
Yeah, that's not anecdotal.
That's not anecdotal
That's
at all.
just fact.
It's a fact, Jack.
That thing, even when Ken Weaver weighs in,
100%.
you can be sure that I'm telling you the truth.
Jack.
Yeah, exactly, yes. Gotta have the Jack.
All right, so we were, it's crazy. I had prepped a whole show worth of stuff. And now, I mean, we spent 2 hours talking about something I didn't prep on. So
And it was a great discussion, man.
I loved it, and I'm so glad we got to. Do you know that, speaking of 2024, Robert F. Kennedy, he didn't want Nicole Shanahan first.
Really?
He asked Tulsi Gabbard.
Really?
And she turned him down.
That's a different direction entirely.
Way different direction. She denied him. I think it would have been a way better choice. RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, that's far more formidable than a far leftist like Nicole Shanahan. Don't you think?
I mean, yeah, he's obviously going after the left side of the aisle with that pick.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't hit the same. And it doesn't drop any kind of bombs like if it had been Aaron Rodgers, that would have been newsworthy. If it had been Jesse Ventura, that would have been newsworthy.
So you think Rodgers would have been a better pick?
I think it would have gotten more media attention than who he did pick.
Oh,
yeah,
definitely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, people would be laughing at him nonstop.
Well, that's fair. A lot of people laugh at him anyway, including his own family.
100%.
I don't think he's worried about the laughing. You think he's worried about the laughing?
No, I don't think so. If he was, he would be already stopped.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, so I was kind of shocked that he wanted Tulsi and she denied him. I think it was a good move by Tulsi, especially because if the rumors are true, she's on Trump's short list for VP. Who would you rather be with? That's an easy choice. It's an easy choice all day. You would go with Trump. I have some other stories here that I want to get to. Biden is attacking Florida, and we'll talk about that on the way. But right now, I want to tell you about my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. Hey, it's Chris Hand for USS. With all the rain we had yesterday, perfect time to poke your head down in your crawl space or in your basement and look around. Do you notice any standing water in your crawl space, or maybe wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors? If you see that, that is your house trying to tell you something. And what it's trying to tell you is you need to call the waterproofing experts at United Structural Systems to come to your home and check it out. 615-488-7855. They've been doing this in Middle Tennessee since 1994. They are your waterproofing experts. They can do a whole custom encapsulation in your crawl space, and they can proof any water coming in. It's amazing what they do, and they've been doing it for so long that they have 25,000 satisfied customers to back them up. They'll come to your home, they'll give you a unique custom plan, and they won't leave until the job is done and you're satisfied. The guys at USS are good people, honest, hardworking, and proud of the work they do. They're so proud of the work they do that when they leave, they'll leave you with a lifetime warranty, and the warranty stays with the house even if you move. That's how confident they are in the work they do. So if you're having waterproofing issues, you need to call USS, United Structural Systems, 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855, or online at USSTN.com.
11:30 on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now in Middle Tennessee, another search for Sebastian Rogers, the 15-year-old autistic boy missing from his Hendersonville home since late February. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office posting to Facebook law enforcement agencies from around Middle Tennessee are conducting another search in the Long Hollow Pike area. Tennessee seems to have avoided major destruction from yesterday's storm outbreak, but not Kentucky. Jordan Udis is a paramedic in Louisville and describes some of the mess left behind.
The roof from one house went across the street and ended up into another home. Within a matter of what seemed like minutes, it went from about 70, 75 degrees and sunny to suddenly pitch black and debris flying.
Yeah, Governor Beshear declaring a state of emergency. Money news, Jim Ryan.
Stocks have turned around some of the losses that began the second quarter. Headed into the midday, the Dow Jones was higher by 87 points. The S&P 500 had gained 0.4%. The Nasdaq was up 0.6.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Florida under attack by Biden. I think they'd probably just get rid of Florida if they could, right? Give it to Cuba.
Oh, for sure.
Like, let's just give it to Cuba. let's give Texas to Mexico.
Never thought about that.
Let's give Florida to Cuba.
They totally would.
They would.
They wouldn't even need anything back in the trade.
No. Nope. Yeah. Future consideration.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah. Protected first.
Yeah, protected first. So Florida is under attack by the Biden administration. In fact, Biden is saying that they are going to target Florida in 2024, and abortion is going to be the focal point. They're making it ground zero for abortion rights because of the Florida Supreme Court paving way for the 6-week abortion ban in the state. So Democrats are eyeing Florida as a state that they can make gains in because, again, remember, the only thing that the Democrats can really campaign on is going to be abortion. That's really going to be the only thing that can galvanize its base. The Florida Supreme Court upheld the state's 15-week abortion ban on Monday, paved way for a 6-week abortion ban to go into effect in 30 days. 6 weeks, they say, is often before a woman knows she's pregnant. I don't know, but I like the ban. I'm with it. I think that this is a good thing, and this is what the people of Florida voted for. But the Biden administration, they're taking aim at that, and that's just one of the things that they're doing for Florida. Karine Jean-Pierre also said, DeSantis had this new law basically outlawing squatting in Florida. The White House says squatting is a local issue, and Karine Jean-Pierre said property owners need to be protected, but she wouldn't say if Biden supports Ron DeSantis' new law. Well, why? She's not going to give them any credit. And squatting would be a bigger problem in Florida because it's been revealed that Florida, did you know this? Florida is where they're flying all the illegals. Yeah. So we all know about the Biden administration's plan that they've been doing, flying hundreds of thousands of migrants into the country. It's a controversial program, sparked national security fears, but the analysis reveals where the majority of these illegal aliens arrive on Biden's plan. And the majority go to Florida, Texas, New York, and California. Isn't that fascinating? The vast majority of flights of migrants, I use air quotes, the vast majority of flights President Joe Biden's White House is transporting directly from foreign countries to U.S. airports to bypass the southern border are landing in Florida. New analysis from the Center for Immigration Studies revealed that 326,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela arrived in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis' state, since the program began in January of 2023. 326,000. Sending them to Miami. Another large spot for these flights, Houston, 21,000. It's not even close from the top receiving to the next. 326,000 for Miami, 21,000 for Houston. Not even in the same ballpark. So he's definitely attacking Florida. And I don't know if you follow this Twitter account. I follow it, End Wokeness. Have you seen End Wokeness on Twitter?
Yeah, for sure.
I retweet him. I think he's got a great Twitter account. But he hit the nail on the head on this. He posted a tweet last night. Said the same exact playbook that Dems used for California is playing out in Texas. And I would add Florida. And he said, let's back up a little bit. Texas is the second most populous state in the U.S. California used to be a red state. Republicans won 8 out of 9 presidential elections during the mid-1900s. Even L.A., Los Angeles itself, the GOP won 6 of 10 of those presidential elections. And then something changed, and it was in 1986. Reagan cut a deal with the Dems and granted amnesty to millions of illegals, the majority of them residing in California. It granted them the right to vote. And since then, the GOP has not won a single presidential election in California. That's the plan in Texas, and it looks like that's the plan for Florida. When you're pumping in 326,000 illegals into Florida, that feels like it's the plan, doesn't it? It certainly feels like it's the plan. Crazy. 90% of the illegals in Biden's scheduled program go to Florida or Texas. 90%. I don't want to be all doom and gloom, though. There was some movement in another state, Nebraska, that was really pretty cool. The Nebraska governor is now backing conservative-led efforts to award all of the state's electoral votes to the statewide presidential winner. So before this happened, they didn't award all of the state's electoral votes to the presidential candidate who won statewide. So Nebraska has been a Republican stronghold for years, but the state system, as well as the state of Maine, they have a system where they award electoral votes, and it's at odds with the rest of the country because instead of awarding the votes based on the congressional district as opposed to winner takes, they award votes based on congressional district as opposed to winner takes all. So theoretically, a presidential candidate could win the state but still lose one electoral vote if their opponent won in a congressional district like Omaha. So, for example, Obama got a single electoral vote in 2008, and Joe Biden did the same thing in 2020. So that's not happening anymore. And this is a good thing. Charlie Kirk went in on this on Twitter. He said, suppose Donald Trump flips Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada next fall, as current polls show him doing. Would he win the presidency? Not quite. In fact, if Trump flips those three states and no others, he loses by exactly one electoral vote. And that would have been because of Nebraska. Despite being one of the most Republican states, Nebraska awards its electoral votes by congressional district instead of winner take all. Thanks to this system, Omaha's electoral votes lean blue. Obama won it in 2008, Biden won it in 2020, and he's likely to win it again this year. California would never do this. New York would never do this. And as long as that's the case, neither should we, and it's completely fixable. Nebraska's legislature can act to make sure that the state's electoral votes go towards electing the candidate that the vast majority of Nebraskans prefer. And there's a bill ready to go. He lists the bill. He says all Nebraska has to do is put it up for a vote. Well, after Republicans started pushing back on this, the governor took action. And in a statement on Tuesday, the Nebraska governor, Jim Pillen, he spoke in favor of legislation that would change how the state awards electoral votes that was introduced by a state senator in Nebraska. This is huge. He says, I'm a strong supporter of Senator Lippencott's winner-take-all bill, LB 764, and have been from the start. It would bring Nebraska into line with 48 of our fellow states, better reflect the founders' intent, and ensure our state speaks with one unified voice in presidential elections. I call on fellow Republicans in the legislature to pass this bill and get it to my desk to sign into law. This is great news. With Pillen's support, the legislation has a strong chance of passing both the state House and the state Senate, and it'll go into effect before the November 2024 election. And this is just, I just want to highlight this to say, when you make your voices heard, movement happens in the Republican Party, right? Like when this happened because people were outraged and they started calling this man nonstop. And now that's going to be changed. This is a big win for the conservative movement. And it's because conservatives started making phone calls saying, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it. So we need to do more of this. We absolutely need to do more of this. Switching now to the border. Did you hear that a Somalian terrorist was arrested, but he's only been arrested after spending a year living freely in the U.S.? It's nice.
That adds up.
Do some sightseeing.
Yeah.
Think he went to Mount Rushmore?
Maybe the Grand Canyon.
Maybe. So a known Somali terrorist spent nearly a year in the U.S. after being wrongly released by the feds. Wrongly released. He was on an FBI watch list. He was wrongly released. According to a report from the New York Post, the 27-year-old Somalian man, yet to be identified, was on the terrorist watch list as a confirmed member of Al-Shabaab, and he was involved in the trafficking and transportation of explosives and firearms. Not the type of guy you want to, how do they put it? Wrongly release. just trafficking firearms and explosives. It's not a big deal, right? Despite this, the terrorist was released after initially being caught by authorities entering the country illegally in California in March of 2023. He was rearrested in, guess which state a Somalian terrorist was rearrested in?
Where?
Minnesota.
Minnesota,
don't you know? That was in January. GOP lawmakers are now demanding answers about the mishap. In a letter obtained by the Post, the lawmakers wrote, did the al-Shabaab terrorist travel to Minnesota with the assistance, either direct or indirect, of an NGO, a non-governmental organization? If so, which NGO was responsible for transporting this individual to Minnesota? Minnesota is like Somali territory. That's Ilhan Omar and all the things. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer said in a statement about the incident, the Biden administration's open borders agenda allowed a known terrorist to roam freely through our state, and now they must answer for their inexcusable negligence. Do you think they're going to answer for their inexcusable negligence? I think the best we're going to get is my bad, bro. We definitely won't let that happen again. This comes as the number of people crossing the border illegally into the U.S. That have been apprehended and are on the terrorist watch list has increased in recent years as the Biden administration's soft border policies have led to a record influx of illegal aliens. And let me remind you, earlier in March, a Hezbollah terrorist was apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border attempting to enter illegally. And when they caught him, he said, I'm going to try to make a bomb. It's probably not like,
Yeah.
What are you doing here? You probably shouldn't answer that.
No.
Like a red flag, right? Like, I laugh to keep from crying because our southern border is so wide open and so dangerous.
Scary.
That a Hezbollah terrorist thought, like, oh, dude, they'll walk me right in. What are you doing? What are you planning on doing here? No, I'm just making bombs.
Oh, right this way.
Right this way, sir. There's an NGO over there that'll take you to Minnesota. It's crazy town. 1148 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy joining me in studio for an adventure of our lifetime. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Are you ready for the adventure?
I don't think I'm ready.
I don't
think it matters.
I just said we were going to have it.
Well, I get that. I'm being honest with you.
I wish you told me before I said we were going to have an adventure.
I'm going. I just don't know how in the world.
I'm going. I just don't want to.
No. I just don't know how I could possibly get prepared for the adventure of a lifetime.
What was that? Sharing the butter?
I don't ever get to play that, so I just saw an opportunity.
Hey, Mac, how are you?
Hey.
Good to see you.
How
are you?
Adventure-esque.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Churn the butter, man.
You're dressed for an adventure.
I'm dressed for success, Mr. Hand. How about yourself?
I put on pants.
For those... But we are in agreement that we're a shorts midday group during the late spring and summer months. Okay, good. Okay,
yes,
good.
I was wearing shorts earlier this week.
We need to maintain some solidarity on that front.
We have to.
Because nobody ever sees Wilson. He's out there in Watertown. Mandis is Mr. Clean, the PD Marine. And I have to...
Mandis is very clean.
He's the management guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's super dope. So you and I have to remain in solidarity. I will explain all. I will explain the nature of my suit coming up just after 12 o'clock.
I'm excited. And I was telling people that you're going to have a hot take after 12 on the...
Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to give you an example of. How two people smart on the news of the day can take something out of the headlines and have different opinions about it and still remain friends. We don't have to become enemies because we have slightly different opinions, because I've heard yours and have great respect for it. And I think yours is important because it's coming from the perspective of a guy with 4 young kids.
Yeah.
Which is very important. Mine is a slightly different take about my fears of what the government does with that type of power and control. So we'll talk about that. I'm excited about it. It's a hot topic.
Dude, the phone lines were jammed for like 2 hours.
That's good. I'll tell you what I was doing this morning, a little bit later on today, and they're doing it to Trump again. Did you talk about the animals coming?
Oh, my gosh. I was so excited. It's like the old hoax. I went through the hoaxes.
Yeah.
We had some good ones. Russia collusion.
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
Good. That was a good hoax.
That's a classic.
It's like a 2-year hoax.
The perfectly good phone call.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sure.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Perfect. That led to an impeachment.
I think the greatest hoax was very fine people on both sides.
Charlottesville. No question.
That may be the top hoax. The bloodbath one was great. I wasn't ready for it.
Don't forget 2016. They're bringing the rapists. They're bringing the murderers. And remember, that's when all Mexicans became rapists.
That's
remember
true.
that one?
I forgot about the Mexicans being rapists.
We're just re-slinging the hits, baby.
This is what I love. But I have the hoax, and it's this is the clip.
The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals.
And that's...
He's talking about. I mean, you have to laugh to keep from crying. He's literally talking about someone who is accused of beating a human being to death.
The 22-year-old nursing student in Georgia who was barbarically murdered by an illegal alien animal. The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals.
I say go for it.
You know what the best part about that was yesterday is the KJP saying that calling the border a bloodbath is violent rhetoric. Ducey says, but Joe Biden said he didn't want the primary to turn into a bloodbath. She goes, but it's about context.
I have that clip too, and her babbling. And, if you and I did not have any morals about us, you and I could go do a far superior job.
Oh, my gosh. I could have.
To Jean-Pierre. She's just horrible at her job.
Yes.
Just horrible at her job. It's not that difficult to spin this.
No.
But she can't do it. So we'll talk about that today as well.
Perfect. I'm excited for the Murphy Show, noon to 3. He looks, you guys.
Tie's optional.
Matt Murphy came in here looking like a 10. So I suggest...
You from Tennessee, man?
I suggest that you watch on... I suggest you watch on Super Talk TV.